July 18th, 1944, 2:37 p.m. Somewhere above the steaming jungles of New Guinea. The engine coughs. Once, twice. Then the vibration begins. Inside the cockpit of the battered P-38 Lightning, First Lieutenant George W. Bud Harmon grips the control yoke as the twin-engine fighter shudders beneath him. The propellers scream against the humid Pacific air, but something is wrong. Very wrong. Oil pressure is dropping. Fast. Below him stretches an endless ocean of jungle, a suffocating green carpet broken only by twisting rivers and jagged ridges. No airfields, no friendly lines, just miles of wilderness crawling with Japanese patrols, and things much worse than enemy soldiers. Come on, Harmon mutters, tapping the oil gauge as if that might convince the needle to climb back up. It doesn't. Behind him, a trail of black smoke stretches across the sky like a signal flare announcing his death. Moments earlier, he had been part of a fighter sweep escorting American bombers, striking Japanese positions along the northern coast. The mission had gone smoothly, almost too smoothly. No enemy fighters, no flak, just the long flight home. But war rarely ends quietly. A sudden metallic bang had ripped through the engine cowling. Oil sprayed across the windshield. The starboard engine began to choke itself to death. Now the Lightning is losing altitude. Slowly at first, then faster. Harmon scans the horizon. Nothing. No ships, no airstrip, no rescue. Just jungle. The jungle changes after sunset. During the day, the forest is loud, insects buzzing, birds calling, branches creaking in the heat. It almost feels alive in a comforting way. But when night falls, everything becomes something else. Something watchful. July 18th, 1944, 6:42 p.m. The light fades quickly beneath the towering canopy as First Lieutenant George Bud Harmon pushes deeper into the jungle, moving slowly and deliberately. Every step sinks into wet soil. Thick vines grab at his boots. Leaves as large as shields brush against his shoulders. The humidity is suffocating. Sweat pours down his back until his flight suit clings to his skin like glue. And the noise. The jungle is screaming now. Crickets shriek like broken machinery. Strange birds howl from unseen branches. Somewhere nearby, something large splashes into water. Harmon stops walking. Listens. A twig snaps in the distance. His hand instantly moves to the .45 caliber Colt pistol strapped to his side. For several seconds, he doesn't breathe. Nothing. Just insects. Still, the feeling doesn't leave. That ancient instinct buried deep inside the human brain, the one that whispers you are being watched. He keeps moving. Training tells him to follow water downhill. Rivers eventually lead to villages, or the coast, or something. But moving toward water also means something else. Japanese patrols. Enemy units regularly search rivers and trails for downed pilots. If they find him first, the jungle will not be his biggest. July 21st, 1944, Day 4. The jungle doesn't care how long you've been here. It doesn't care if you're a pilot, a soldier, or a man slowly running out of strength. For First Lieutenant Bud Harmon, the first 3 days have been nothing but movement. Move at dawn, hide by day, move again before sunset. Always deeper, always away from the smoke trail of the crash site. His emergency rations are already gone. 2 days' worth of food stretched into 3, then disappeared entirely. Now hunger has begun to gnaw at him like an animal. His stomach cramps. His legs feel heavy. Even lifting his pistol feels like work. But hunger is only the first problem. The real enemy is thirst. The jungle is wet everywhere. Dripping leaves, muddy ground, swollen rivers, but drinking the wrong water can kill a man faster than starvation. On the morning of Day 4, Harmon finally finds a narrow stream twisting through the undergrowth. The water moves slowly over smooth stones. He kneels beside it cautiously. His reflection stares back from the surface. He barely recognizes himself. His face is already thinner. Dirt and sweat have turned his skin gray. Mosquito bites cover his neck like a rash, but the water looks clean. Clear enough. He cups his hands and drinks. Cold liquid rushes down his throat like salvation. He drinks again and again. For the first time since falling from the sky, Harmon feels something close to relief. But relief in the jungle is often temporary, because only July 24th, 1944, 9:10 a.m., Dobodura Airfield, New Guinea. The operations tent is thick with cigarette smoke. Maps of northern New Guinea are spread across a long wooden table, weighted down with coffee mugs and radio logs. Officers lean over them in tense silence. At the center of the room stands Major Robert Doc Wilson, the squadron intelligence officer. His finger rests on a red grease pencil circle drawn deep inside Japanese territory. That's where Harmon went down. Across the table, a naval liaison officer shakes his head. That's 50 miles behind enemy lines, he says flatly. Dense jungle, no landing zones. Japanese infantry units all through that valley. Another officer adds quietly, even if he survived the crash, he's been out there 6 days. The implication hangs in the air. No food, no medical care, no way to signal for help. In the Pacific War, the jungle usually wins, but Major Wilson doesn't move his finger from the map. He's one of ours, he says. Silence again. Everyone in that room understands the unwritten rule of aerial warfare. You never leave a pilot behind. But reality is crueler than rules. Rescue missions behind enemy lines are rarely attempted. Aircraft can't land in jungle thick enough to swallow entire battalions. Sending ground troops would take weeks, and by then, Harmon would already be dead. So the discussion turns toward the usual conclusion. Mark the pilot as missing in action. Move on. Until a young Army Air Forces lieutenant quietly. July 25th, 1944, 3:18 p.m. Sepik River Basin, New Guinea. The roar of engines echoes across the water as the consolidated PBY Catalina descends through the humid sky. Inside the cockpit, Lieutenant Commander James Jim Mallory leans forward over the control yoke, eyes scanning the muddy ribbon of river below. Flaps 20, he calls calmly. Behind him, the Catalina's crew braces for the landing attempt. They've flown rescue missions before, but never this deep into enemy territory. Never this exposed. The aircraft is enormous compared to the narrow river winding through the jungle. Tree lines close in on both sides like walls. Mallory studies the water. Debris, floating branches, shallow currents. It's not a safe landing zone, but if the downed pilot is alive somewhere below, this may be the only chance. Altitude 200, the navigator says. Mallory nods. Bring us lower. The Catalina drops closer to the water, and that's when the gunner spots it. Boat, 11 o'clock. Everyone in the cockpit snaps toward the river bend ahead. A small motor launch bursts into view. Japanese. The boat's machine gun swivels upward instantly. They've seen the aircraft, and they know exactly what it's trying to do. On the riverbank, Bud Harmon sees the same thing unfold. His heart sinks. The rescue plane is still descending. The Japanese patrol boat is accelerating straight toward the landing point. If the Catalina touches down now, it will be trapped on the water. Slow. July 26th, 1944, 11:02 a.m. Dobodura Airfield, New Guinea. The consolidated PBY Catalina glides onto the coastal water like a wounded bird finally reaching its nest. Its aluminum skin is scarred with bullet holes. The left wing is torn in 2 places. One engine coughs unevenly as the aircraft taxis toward the floating dock, but it made it back. Deck crews rush forward as the Catalina settles into place. Hatches open. Crew members climb out first, exhausted, drenched in sweat, still shaking from the firefight. Then 2 sailors carefully help a thin, filthy man out of the hatch. For a moment, the mechanics and ground crews stare. It's hard to believe this scarecrow of a man was once a fighter pilot. His flight suit hangs loosely from his body. His beard has grown thick and uneven. His skin is covered in mosquito bites and jungle scratches. But when First Lieutenant Bud Harmon steps onto the dock, the entire airfield erupts into cheers. Men who have spent months watching friends disappear over enemy territory suddenly see something they rarely witness: a downed pilot coming home. Inside the base medical tent, doctors work quickly. Harmon is dehydrated, malnourished, running a lingering fever, but alive. One of the doctors shakes his head as he checks the pilot's pulse. 30 days in that jungle would have killed most men, he mutters. Harmon manages a weak smile. Felt like it almost did. Later that afternoon, intelligence officers gather around his